Not really. And when I say not really, I mean absolutely not in the slightest. It hurts. And not even the fun kind of hurt, like pressing a bruise or receiving a flogging from an experienced and considerate flogging professional. Writing hurts in the expansive, existential dread kind of way. A pain of the id and the ego. It is lonely, time-consuming, laborious, and often ends in disappointment. There is fear, too. We can't forget about the fear. The fear of having to decide which word comes next, over and over again, and little certainty you are choosing correctly. The fear that having maybe gotten lucky once, that the short story from a year ago was a fluke, something that escaped me rather than me helping it in any way. The fear of not being able to do it again, that the magic might have left me. Or even worse, I never had it, and I've pursued something I fundamentally had no business doing. Fear that the degrees and the kind words of my tutors were some kind of administrative failure or part of a cruel joke. Every time I sit down to write something new, I can't conceive of a world in which it might be any good. My first drafts are messy and broken, and not the first pancake kind of messy, merely misshapen and slightly burned at the edges, rather the genetic experiment failure kind of messy, a hideous creature that damns the gods that made it and begs for death. Trusting the process is easier said than done. Then why do I even bother? Writing is probably the least enjoyable art form to practice. It lacks the tactile feeling of paint on canvas or of moulding clay or shaping stone. There is no oneness with one's body as one might experience with dance. There is no wood carving at the end to admire, or crafted textile to enjoy afterwards. The most enjoyable art to make is music. Even playing bad music badly is fun. In my previous life, I was in a band that enjoyed minor local success. We played in small venues, cafes, libraries and museums, and an ex-strip club owned by a Morris dancing punk. Even the odd festival, and we were on the radio once or twice. Music making is fabulous. Transcendent even, the feeling of camaraderie, of being part of something bigger than yourself, the interplay of skill, discipline, practice and improvisation. The middle of a tasty jam can be utterly euphoric. Writing has none of this. It is a serotonin sinkhole. Maybe I would even enjoy typing if I was better at it. As it is, my slow, inaccurate jabbing is just frustrating. Though even with the best, creamiest, clackiest keyboard, the physical sensation of writing is slight backache at best. I think that's why the aesthetification of writing offends me so much. The cottagecore typewriter, dark academia, glossy Instagram filter, lo-fi and fairy-light, overly organised bookshelves and coffee shops. It just doesn't reflect my reality of two-finger typing on a sticky keyboard in a stained shirt and trying not to cry. I can't work in coffee shops, so I stay in my mould-riddled, cold bedsit. Then why even bother? I hear you ask again. A good question. On bad days, the only answer I can think to give is the sunk cost fallacy of it all. It would be embarrassing to give up now, with all the time spent and with all the money spent. Is it the hope of producing a masterpiece, like a dwarf producing the one great work he gets for his lifetime? Is it to take my place in the vast canon of literature, to cement my legacy as a wordsmith and a very clever, important person? I have a suspicion that such ambition requires a family history of similar success. Needless to say, my family has never had that kind of impact. Is it some calling, like others would have to go be a doctor or go to war? Do I just have the words in me, stories bubbling beneath the surface that would just be agony to ignore? Not that I have noticed. Given my work ethic, it is clear that any stories I have in me are perfectly fine with staying where they are. I am just not very good at anything else, truth be told. I can't dance, make palatable food, I don't have a mind for numbers or for fashion. I am too corrupt to go into politics, and I'm claustrophobic, so that rules out professional spelunker. I was bad at selling computers, flooring and pens, and designing kitchens. I was a miserable failure, working in PR. And though my writing accomplishments are so far thin on the ground, as my negative self-talk would be the first to tell you, I have yet to fail. Unlike all my other professions and ventures, there is still a little hope at the bottom of my writing Pandora's box. A small, fragile feeling that that maybe I could get through the fear and the pain and make something someone would read and not feel like they had wasted their time.